Shrimi, we have another breaking news coming in that the government has received financial bids from potential bidders with regards to IDBI Bank. What's the context of this story?
Absolutely. See, IDBI Bank, reaching to its advanced stage, and this is a clear signal. And if you remember, we reported that government in mid of January actually has invited financial bid from all the potential bidders for strategic disinvestment in the IDBI Bank. Now, I'll take you through the background of it, but the first story here is, which is the breaking one, that government today has received financial bids from all the potential bidders for the strategic disinvestment in the IDBI Bank. So this is a very, very key step in the long pending privatization process. And in fact, in a brief statement, government said the DIPAM DIPAM actually posted on X that the financial bid had been received and will now be evaluated in accordance with the prescribed procedure. So that's very, very important development. From the context of IDBI disinvestment, much talked about disinvestment. Now, the strategic disinvestment, of course, involved the sale of controlling stake in IDBI Bank, which is LIC 30.72% and government stake 30.2%. So total, they are going to do the dilution of 60-odd%. So that's the plan, and both of them, actually both government and LIC, are major stakeholders in IDBI Bank. Now, this is crucial because, as we have been reporting about it, the first expression of interest was invited somewhere in 2023. So it's already been 3.5 years where the process has been going on, where being a sensitive sector, IDBI Bank, they waited for RBI, due diligence as well. And now the process reaches to, finality, because in our interview with DIPAM Secretary last year, somewhere around August, September, he hinted the fact that the final bidder announcement will be by, end of this fiscal year, by end of March. So you will perhaps see by the bidders now placing their offer to government, and this is now official, it's very clear that the winning bidder is perhaps getting announced very, very soon. And you won't be surprised if you get that name, the winning bidder for IDBI Bank, first week or second week of March. So very, very important development from the perspective of how the government has been talking about focusing on disinvestment, focusing on asset monetization this year. In fact, Finance Minister also said recently, post-budget, that the government is going to focus on disinvestment. And in fact, if you see the disinvestment target also for the next financial year, which is FY27, it has been kept double the this year target, which is 80,000 crores. So clearly, they have budgeted IDBI Bank disinvestment, because if you see the valuation of it somewhere, if you're diluting 60%, it will come to closer to 75,000 crores we are talking about. So that is purely budgeted in the government disinvestment target for FY27. So very, very big and important news this is, because this is closing and reaching the finality as far as IDBI disinvestment is concerned.
Right. Shrimi, another question that naturally comes to the mind when somebody reads a story like this is the intention behind the disinvestment. As you highlighted, the government has already budgeted a very substantial amount for the disinvestment, and a 60% dilution in IDBI Bank, as you highlighted already and pointed out, that would come to about 75,000 crore rupees. Could you explain that the privatization of IDBI Bank that has been in the making for about 3.5 years now, what was the intention of disinvestment? Is it to invite more private players and give a push to more private holding?
Yeah, so clearly, I mean, see, IDBI Bank, and for that matter, 3 to 4 big PSUs and PSEs, if you see, which cabinet has actually cleared during the COVID time, because there was a lot of disinvestment push around, and the first one being Air India in 2022. So after Air India privatization in 2022, government has been working on not just IDBI Bank. In that list, which actually cabinet approves, it has Shipping Corporation, it has this Concor as well. And since then, they have been trying to sort of do disinvestment. But, it all depends on how the market is performing. If there is too much of volatility, they don't proceed with disinvestment. And if you talk about the thought process behind it, in fact, government has also kind of got a lot of backlash initially, as far as disinvestment and privatization is concerned. And we have seen also the shift of stance in last 4 to 5 years, because from pushing for privatization from the Air India time to going slow about it over the period of time, and now again picking up with IDBI Bank and it's suiting maybe the volatility. And in fact, if you see the number of reforms which government has talked about in the recent budget as well, the kind of committee they formed on the entire banking, how they have to be, what kind of roadmap they're looking at banking for 2047. This gives us pretty much hint that they want to bring, players here. They want to bring private players in the banking sector, but they need to be very selective because it's very sensitive sector. And RBI is pretty much involved in it. It's not, unlike the other sector like there are certain sectors where you can go for easy disinvestment and that's fine. But for banking especially, you need to have a lot of due diligence and regulatory intervention is very, very important. And that's why the entire IDBI process has taken a lot of time, because for RBI approval, I actually take over a year to get due diligence approved. So, but after that, it's more really fast. And now we are seeing that they are now received the financial bill.
Right. Shrimi, because you've tracked the space so closely and disinvestments such as these, what kind of parameters are considered in disinvestments in the banking space? Because you highlighted a very important point. You said that while the push for disinvestment has been there in the past couple of years, despite the initial backlash, now the government really wants to upscale and provide the impetus to the private sector that has not been there. And this is how perhaps India is also going to grow faster, by giving wings to the private players. And the IDBI Bank disinvestment is, an epitome of that. With now the bidders kind of being locked in, I'd like to understand what may have gone behind the process and what parameters may have been considered, because IDBI Bank is such a big private bank.
So quickly on the part, see, if you see the budget speech as well, while forming the committee for banking regulation, etc., and hiking the FDI limit, etc., all those discussions are at play. Clearly, they are very, they recognize the fact that financial strength has improved for all the public sector banks. If you talk about the net worth and capital adequacy, if you talk about all those balance sheet strength and access to long-term funding, they want to make it not just a saving tool, but also to, capitalize all sort of infra projects. So they are seeing that, potential in the public sector bank, and that's why you have seen the reform has been announced and they are working towards it, and not just for 1 or 2 years. It's nothing to be for the short or medium term. They're looking at a new sort of facelift to banking sector for 2047. So that's of course a far-fetched one, but for now they are very clear about the fact that how to make it more robust, how to make the entire banking system more access to long-term funding, and of course they have to go balance to keep a balanced view also, because as I told you and I mentioned earlier that it's a very sensitive sector. You can't just go and do things. It takes a lot of time. It has a lot of factors to keep in mind to go, go along and to move with such kind of disinvestment. But if this happens, it's going to be a big development in the privatization space, and the government has been pushing, because I told you that initially they started with Air India, then they slowed down with all those backlashes, and now they're still, they're picking up. So you may see this year, FY27, the coming fiscal year, a full of, focus on asset monetization as well as disinvestment, and IDBI being the biggest one.
Got it. Thank you so much, Shrimi, for explaining that to us. We also have Gaurang Shah, Senior Vice President, Geojit Investments, joining us at the moment. Sir, the breaking news of this moment is that, financial bids for the divestment of IDBI Bank has come in, and it's now being actively considered. It's in fact gone to the next stage. Shrimi was just explaining the context of it. I'd like to get your view on the importance and the impact it is going to have on the bank, because it's a large bank with a market cap of over 1 lakh crore rupees. And if this divestment is to go through in the next couple of months, how could it change things for the bank?
So thank you so much for having me on the show, and good evening to all of you. And I was just listening to your colleague Shrimi as well. So if I recollect right, the initial process of divestment of IDBI Bank, the announcement was made by Honorable late Finance Minister Shri Arun Jaitley ji. And finally, now we are seeing the ball is rolling in form of the investment bids that have come in, and the disinvestment of IDBI Bank looks to be happening on the horizon. And my sense on all this thing is that even last year the government has spoken about privatization, asset monetization, and consolidation as far as the financial sector is concerned. So if I hope this time around that there is no speed breakers in the way of this ball, which has started to just roll. And I'm sure that this will open up plenty more opportunities for government to monetize the assets, and of course kick in privatization and streamline the discipline which was otherwise missing in some of the PSU companies.
So, yes, you have given me a gist of how do you see the entire banking space. But speaking about IDBI itself, as Shrimi was just giving me the context, and to our viewers as well, she said that the privatization of IDBI Bank has been in the making for the last 3.5 years roughly. And now that financial bids have been sort of locked and the divestment could come through anytime soon, I'd like to ask, what specific impact do you see on the bank itself? And I would ask the same question to you as well. What kind of parameters are considered when divestments of banks to the tune of IDBI Bank are considered in the first place?
So I think firstly it's going to be the credibility of the entity which is going to possibly get through the green signal as far as the divestment of IDBI Bank is concerned. Because as Srini was also mentioning, it's a very sensitive sector. You cannot have any kind of lapses in terms of the transformation of ownership from one to another. And equally in mind, you have to keep the credibility of that entity. So I mean, there are 3 or 4 names which are in this race for getting the, bid in their favor. I don't want to take the names because it is still unofficial.
Names?
So that's what I said. Yeah. So this is all something that I've read in the report. Of course, it is not. It's not clear from the bidders also, but I think one of the names was, I think, Kotak Mahindra Bank, if I'm not mistaken. Again, these are all market speculation. Yeah. So my sense is that I hope the credible entity will get the the bid in their favor. And of course, the changes will be something that will translate as we go into the future, as the process gets over, done and dusted after the approvals from all the regulators. Remember, I think these are just the initial stages as far as potential financial bids are concerned. Then comes the approval process, etc., etc. So this is a move in the right direction. In terms of changes, I think we'll have to just wait and wait out for some time for more news to come through, give us a clear picture. But at least the initiative from the government is in the positive direction as far as the divestment of IDBI Bank is concerned.
Thank you so much, sir, for your input on the divestment. As you said, that while these are all potential bidders, but the final approvals will take time. We have Shrimi Chaudhary as well joining back us in, and I think she has gotten details on all the likely bidders. Shrimi, could you please give us some information over there?
So the RBI is said to have cleared 4 interested bidders, and we have been reporting about it from a fit and proper standpoint. One is, of course, the Kotak Mahindra Bank, then Fairfax India Holding, Emirates NBD, and Oaktree Capital. So these 4 has got clearance from RBI on its fit and proper criteria. But the thing is that how many people and how many bidders among 4 has actually went ahead and bid for it is something is still not known. I couldn't verify it independently from the sources in DIPAM, but what we have given to understand that there, out of these 3 are in race. And if you ask me who are in the front, like who among these are front runners, of course Kotak Mahindra Bank and Fairfax India Holding. Because if you see, Emirates NBD has already is getting merged and acquiring RBL Bank. So this one is, I believe, and what sources are hinting at, no one of course clearly telling me, but it's out of race as we speak. But Kotak Mahindra Bank and Fairfax are the 2 front runners, is what sense we are getting at this point.
Another important clarity as well that we needed, Kotak Mahindra Bank and Fairfax Financial, as far as the information that we currently hold, could be the key front runners and bidders for the divestment of and privatization of IDBI Bank. Thanks so much, Shrimi Chaudhary, as well as Gaurang Shah, for joining us on this very, very important breaking news on the divestment of IDBI Bank.